Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everybody, let me introduce myself. My name is Wida. I'm student of Islamic Economic Department from 6th semester in University of Darussalam Gontor. Now, I will deliver my presentation proposal. So, check this out. My title is The Impact of Effectiveness Credit and Financing Variables on Indonesian Inflation During the Pandemic. As we know, global economic shock due to the COVID-19 pandemic have an impact on the problem of economic instability. One of the indicators can be reviewed from the stability of the inflation rate based on the Consumer Price Index or IHK. One way for the government to deal with this is by the central bank's monetary policy. The central bank monetary policy is directed to influence the pace of economic activity in the real sector with 5 transmission mechanisms, namely interest rate, exchange rate, credit, asset price, and expectation. The transmission reflects 2 stages of the process, namely interaction in the money market and interaction with the intermediation function between banks and financial institutions. In other side, in the banking system, Indonesia has begun to implement dual banking system. The Jurisdiction Banking Law number 10 was issued in 1998. This system is a dual banking system when conventional banks can operate side by Sharia banks. So, is it in principle the same as an instrument of intermediation, but it also invited research to test the effectiveness of both systems. We can see in 2012, Magdalena conduct tests on SBMK, PUAB, SBI, and credit variables. As a result, conventional variables contribute greatly, while Sharia variables have no flow and are unsustainable with inflation. So in the same year, Askaria also reached the transmission flow and effectiveness of dual monetary system. And as a result, Sharia patterns are more effective than conventional. So in 2016, UD also reached SBI, PUAB, interest rate, and credit variables. As a result, conventional variables have the potential to reduce inflation but lower long-term economic growth. So in 2015, there is Muhammad Imanuddin also strengthened the analysis on conventional credit lines and Sharia financing. As a result, credit has a negative impact on economic growth, while Sharia financing is positively reflected. Based on the research that has been done, there are differences and the author found again in research to test the effectiveness of credit and financing lines in Sharia system that are proven. Based on the research that has been done, there are differences, and the author found a gap in research to test the effectiveness of credit and financing lines in Sharia system that are proven to increase economic growth without influence to lower the inflation rate in the pandemic. The independent variables we are used are SBIS, PUIS, and financing for Sharia, while SBI, PUAB, and credit for conventional, and the dependent variable used is CPI or IHK. So next, the problem formulation is the first. How does SBIS, PUIS, and financing affect Indonesian inflation rate during the pandemic? So the second is, how do SBI, PUAB, and credit as conventional financing variable affect Indonesian inflation rate during the pandemic? So the last is, which variable are the most dominant and effective in influencing the inflation rate in Indonesia? And for the research objective, the first is to find out how SBIS, PUIS, and financing as Sharia financing variables affect the inflation rate in Indonesia. So the second is to find out how SBI, POAB, and credit influence as Sharia financing variables on inflation rate in Indonesia. So the third is to find out which variables are the most dominant and effective in influencing the inflation rate in Indonesia. So next, literature review. For the first, there is credit. Credit is the effect of policy on output and prices through banking credit through channel. That is leading channel bank and blind sheet channel firms. So the second is financing. That is credit provided by Sharia banks with application of Sharia principle, namely Wida and Mudorobah. So the third is inflation. That is the trend of increasing prices of goods and services continuously. The indicator can be seen from the Consumer Price Index, or we say IHK. So the last is the banking during pandemic. There is Sri Mulyani considers Sharia banking performance relatively more stable and high than conventional. So the next is previous research. In 2018, there is Saputra do the research and results show that SBI and POA's interest rate had a positive and significant effect on the inflation rate, while SBIS and POAB have a negative and significant effect. So the second is Imaduddin do the research in 2019 and results state that loan had a negative impact on economic growth, while Sharia financing was positively reflected. So the third is Novisari in 2012. The results state that most of the inflation is influenced by POAB for conventional and SBIS for Sharia. So next in 2012, there is Hadi and Afifi. The results state that POAB credit and POIS responded positively to inflation, while financing respond negatively. And the last is Daniar do the research in 2016. The result state that Sharia monetary policy has a role to hold back inflation and stimulate economic growth because it can trigger the real sector economy. And for this research, I will use the factor autoregression of VAR and also factor error correction model of FECM. And for dependent variable, I will use the customer price index, or IHK, where the independent variables for conventional, I will use SBI, POAB, and loan. And other insight for Sharia instrument, I will use SBIS, POAS, and even or financing. Okay, maybe until here I can deliver my speech. Thanks for your kind attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.